Well, hello to everyone, and Mark's presentation, What Writing Process at the Northwest Council for Computer Education. My name is Troy Hicks. I'm the author of the Digital Writing Workshop published by Heinemann and also the director of the Chippewa River Writing Project at Central Michigan University. And Mark asked me to Skype into your presentation, but unfortunately at the time of your session I'll be out doing some professional development. So I decided to take a moment while I'm here at my local library with my family and to pause and talk a little bit about the writing process in the 21st century. I have to agree with Mark that things are getting a little bit different. That traditional brainstorm, pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing process that we've become accustomed to on posters in our classrooms for many years has changed quite a bit. And even though those types of principles still hold true, they're very much interrelated and overlapping now, and it's at a point where students can be potentially brainstorming all the time and in different media. They can use anything from their computer to a cell phone to a notebook, traditional type of writer's journal. They can be gathering information, they can have multiple drafts of things going, and chances are that they're writing outside of school for different audiences and purposes. So what does that mean for us as teachers of writing? Well, in the book, The Digital Writing Workshop, I try to outline 5 principles that I think still hold true in a digital age. And these come from all of the people that we know and trust with writing workshop approaches to the teaching of writing. Donald Graves, Donald Murray, Ralph Fletcher, Lucy Calkins, Nancy Atwell, Jim Burke, Penny Kittle, a number of people that have been doing this for a number of years, and there are kind of 5 general themes, and I'll talk about those really briefly and then talk about what I think the implications are for each of those. So the first theme is choice and inquiry, and the fact that we have to still give students opportunity to pursue topics of their own interests and write about them in genres of their own interests as well. When we think about what technology can allow us and the types of things that students can do by capturing their thinking through blogs and Google Docs and sharing that and commenting and revising, but also sharing their inquiry and looking at things through RSS feeds and doing all kinds of specialized searches and finding blogs and websites that they think are pertinent, we can get them thinking and then participating in a community of writers. And so then that leads to the second point, which is conferring. And even more than ever, it's important to take time to confer with our student writers and also teach them how to work with one another. So it's one thing to put a blog post out there, and yet, like that tree in the forest, if it just goes out there and there's not a community of support and others that are going to read it and respond to it in productive and thoughtful ways, then the blogging is just kind of blogging, and it doesn't really do much to build community and help the student see that their writing can contribute to larger conversations. So we want to be thinking about choice and inquiry, but we also want to be thinking about conferring and building those types of communities. The next component that we want to think about is author's craft, and the fact that in digital spaces the craft of writing changes, and that's going to depend on whether you are posting to a blog or whether you're trying to have students co-author and create a wiki, or whether you're trying to actually create multimedia like a podcast or a digital story or a photo essay. And you want students to be thinking about what it means to be good writing in all of these venues. What does it mean for us to compose in these different types of multimedia? And how do we determine what's good and what's just bells and whistles? And so thinking about that, showing students examples and talking through the media that they consume, and then showing them what works and thinking about what doesn't as they create their own media is important. So we have this idea of choice and inquiry, we have conferring, we have author's craft. The fourth point that we want to keep in mind as we invite our students to do all this work is how we're assessing them. And the National Council of Teachers of English came out with a document, Writing Now, a little while ago, and talked about the issues of formative and summative assessment. And when we think about that in a digital age, it becomes even more important to think about how we're helping students formatively along the way, gathering their resources, citing materials, adhering to fair use and copyright law, thinking about all the elements that go into creating digital compositions, and then in that summative assessment, thinking about not only the craft that goes into it, and thinking about all the technical aspects, but also thinking about all of the author's craft, all those things I was talking about just a moment ago. What makes this piece actually a good composition, and how is it different from what you could do in print, and how is a blog different from a digital story, and so forth, and making those comparisons. So thinking about assessment. And then the fifth piece is thinking about how we share this beyond our classroom. And there are a number of ways that we can ask students to do this through the use of digital portfolios. We can host class wikis, we can create audio and video anthologies. Whatever we do, digital writing is meant to be shared, and it's very easy to share. So we want to think about how to make it most compatible and open it up for feedback. So again, when we think about digital writing, we're still holding true to these principles that we've held to for decades now, and that we know work in a writing workshop approach. We want to foster inquiry, we want to confer, we want to look at author's craft, we want to be thoughtful about assessment, and we want to publish beyond the walls of our classroom. If we continue to do that, we continue to think about our students and the spaces that they're writing in and how we approach the teaching of writing, the particular technology we use doesn't matter so much, so long as we're focusing first on the writer and then on the writing and finally on the technology. And that's my take on the classic Lucy Calkins approach. And so putting the technology last in that equation is going to help you think about focusing on the writer first. So thanks for listening. If you have a chance, join us at the digital workshop at Ning, and I'm sure Mark can show you a link to that.